I would like to talk as well about reruns. So reruns, it's a very hot topic here in Brazil. Like basically, there's a good amount of channels that do the what I like to call live rerun here in Brazil. So they basically have a recording of their stream being broadcasted as a normal live. And I know that this is not against Twitch rules, especially if you make it very, very clear on the title or something about it. But I would like to know how Twitch sees it right now. Like, since we do have an official rerun feature on the platform, but like people don't use it because it actually you can run ads on it. Like, and so it's more beneficial for the streamer to stream it like a normal stream. And in my opinion, the problem with a huge amount of channels doing those live reruns is that it can hurt other channels that are doing like a proper live content and maybe pushed aside in the recommendations or in the categories or something like that. So this makes like small channels have an even hard time to grow sometimes. So how does Twitch sees it today?
Yeah. In general, it's important for us to give the creators a fair amount of latitude in what they decide to do. And there's all sorts of different types of content that people run on Twitch. For example, a very popular channel is Bob Ross, where they're playing quote unquote reruns of the Bob Ross show, right? And that is a rerun. Now, it wasn't on Twitch, but it is a rerun. And so I think it is difficult for us to say, and sometimes you might run a VOD that you're reacting to. All a rerun is a VOD, right? When Mount goes to YouTube and watches YouTube, I'll call them reruns. Okay, now he's live there when he's doing it. Okay, but in general, my inclination is we can't, since there are those channels that don't have a live streamer chatting. There are 24/7 nature cameras, right? That doesn't have a person sitting there chatting with the audience. So understand the concern that, wouldn't it be better to get this person to a creator that's live and interacting? That's kind of up to the viewer. That's kind of up to the creators. If a viewer is going to rather watch a rerun with the community that they like, because they like hanging out with that community, who's Twitch to say that community can't do that?
It's up to them, right?
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think that in general, having at least the obligation of letting people know exactly that this is not a like really live content is already a good change that Twitch implemented like some time ago. I'm not so sure how long ago. I was just like wondering if there's plans on Twitch, if you talk about it like internally, to maybe change something to make it more clear to the viewer, or maybe differentiate those kind of lives from the normal lives or something around those lines. But I totally agree with you that in the end, the choice is obviously from the viewer. So if they want to be there and, watch these live streams, they obviously can and should,
Yeah, and my experience is usually it's pretty clear this is a rerun. The user knows it's a rerun, because people are pretty good about labeling it, and then they understand because chat is talking about it. And at some level, this is an obligation that streamers have for their communities.
For sure.
Right? And I actually think it can hurt a streamer if they try to do this, because the community will feel like you're duping them. And in general, we do best where we create incentives where the behavior is driven by what they need to do succeed on the platform and their obligations to their communities.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure.
I agree.
Nice.
I think it's way more an obligation from the creator to its community than to the creator to Twitch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And every time you add a policy of something you have to do, now you have to add an enforcement regime.
Yeah.
And now you have to add penalties if they don't adhere to the enforcement regime, right? And so, we could create a policy that you have to click a button to put a big banner up, but then we have to have people report when they don't.
Sure.
And that costs money.
Sure.
And then people sometimes will harass them by reporting stuff that actually isn't a VOD. And of course, figuring out if something's a VOD, you actually have to watch it for a little while.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Right? So now we have people we're paying sitting and watching, and maybe they have to watch for 15 minutes because they have to see about how they're responding to chat, and that all costs money. And then we're suspending people for not labeling it. And so in general, I think it's easy to sometimes think of setting up a rule, but a rule without some enforcement regime is meaningless.
It's not a rule, yeah.
Mm-hmm. If anything, I think one area where we need to get better is I think streamers that are trying to adhere to the terms of service, they are not pushing the border, but they're concerned that something will happen on their stream and then they'll get a strike or they'll get suspended or they'll get something. And this is your livelihood. And so that anxiety that creators feel is a challenge, and we need to get better at making that for those people that are creating content and trying to create the right content for the platform, they don't have that concern that suddenly they won't be able to stream for a week. And that means they don't get money that they use to pay their rent.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, I have a question that is related to this topic. It's a pretty tough question to make. I'll try to do it as respectfully as I can. But the thing that I have to say is that after 7 years, 8 years streaming to this platform, there's one thing that I consider, that is that Twitch is not what I call a trustworthy or reliable platform. And I'll split this into 2 segments. First one is about revenue. This that you said, if I get banned from Twitch, I can like stay a week or a month without getting any money to pay rent or anything. But not only getting banned, I can get a lot of less money from Twitch from a month to another. And we get it that in January and February, ads are pretty different than especially in December and November. But this is a thing, and we know it, right? So this is what I mean by not a trustworthy platform, because we cannot rely on Twitch to know if we're gonna get the money that we were expecting. And I know this is like, it's up to us to perform and to get viewers to watch and help us, but not only, right? And the second thing is about changes on the platform. And this one,
Mount, can I suggest this? Let's talk about your first point.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Because I suspect the answer to the first point will be different than the answer to the second point.
Okay, yeah, of course.
Right.
Go ahead.
And by the way, this balloon that just appeared, there's this new thing. Hold on. What the heck?
The camera stops working. I had it when I tried to live stream from my computer.
Yeah, there's something in Chrome and on the Mac. It happens now in my video conferences. I need to figure out how to turn this thing off, because right now my camera is frozen. This is hilarious. Hold on. All right. I'm going to go ahead and answer without my camera. Kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's all right.
So I know this is very challenging for creators because you need to fund your life, and that requires consistency of payment. Now, the problem you experience actually isn't unique to live streaming. My brother, he's lived his life as an actor, and he goes from one job to the next and then hustles and tries to get a commercial job. And he hasn't been a successful actor. He's been a marginal actor he lives in New York, gets a play every now and then, gets a TV commercial, gets this, gets that. And I have a number of friends that are musicians, and they have a similar challenge, that in fact, they love a steady gig where they know they can get money regularly. With Twitch, it's really no different than many other creative endeavors. It's just with all those other creative endeavors, you're not on just one platform, right? You get music jobs all over the place. And so when you decide to be a musician, that's part of being a musician. And there isn't one platform you can say, why doesn't this platform do X? Now with Twitch, it just so happens that, we're the conduit for how you make your money. So it's easy to say, what more can Twitch do about this, right? In general, we would love for the money coming into Twitch to be even too. We would love the advertising revenue to be as high in January, February, and March as it is at the end of the year. Because of course, the way we run our business, we have expenses in January, February, and March. But we have to figure out how to run our business, even though our expenses are constant over the year, even though our revenue can fluctuate, right? And I know this doesn't solve the problem, but the only way we can solve the problem is in some ways taking control out of your hands. We can decide that, you know, we won't pay you as much in December to make sure you get, you know, as much in, you know, you don't have anything go down. I'll pay you less throughout the year to force you to let me be the one that controls your money, right? Because that's good for you. And then you plan your spending accordingly and you figure out your life and that sort of thing. We shouldn't do that, right? Us getting in the middle of how you figure that out, that doesn't make sense. Unfortunately, I think this is a reality of a creative lifestyle. And it's not unique to live streaming. You know, it is no different than if you chose to be a musician, an actor, an artist, you know, a sculptor.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's true. It's way better for us to have the money in our hands and decide whether we spend more in this month and less in the other month to compensate. Because in January we know that we won't have as much money as in December or November, then Twitch to try to compensate January and February for us, right?
Yes. The reality is you've chosen a career that you're passionate about that has upsides and downsides. And you've chosen not to go work at a Starbucks where you get whatever it is per hour. And you know it won't be less than that, but you also know it won't be more than that. And you've chosen a path that as you succeed, you may get much more than what you would get at an hourly rate and much more than you did earlier. I'd say one of the good things about Twitch is in general, I find the communities are very loyal and consistent.
Yeah.
Whereas if you are creating short form content, the algorithms can be very particular. You can have a number of videos that get caught in the algorithm. So now you're doing well. And then suddenly the algorithm doesn't like them. And, you know, there's no shortage of people that were popular for 6 months on short form social media or a year or 2 years. And then suddenly, who was that person? What I like about Twitch is in general, creators, like they show up, they keep creating, and their communities keep showing up, which I think is better than those things. And so in some ways, Twitch gives you more consistency than some other platforms or some other venues of creative expression.
Okay, yeah, I get it. I mean, we chose to work with something that we know it's not consistent throughout the year, right? So, but at the same time, we have we are free to create whatever we want. So yeah, I know, I get
Yes.
it that we have the ups and downs as being a streamer. Yeah. The other
We've
topic.
had conversations. Let me say real quick.
Yeah,
In
sure.
fact, when I showed up here, there was these conversations about, oh, we should solve this problem. How can we solve this problem? And my answer was, we can't solve this problem except by taking from them at one point of the year to give to them later. And I'm like, we should not do that, right?
I agree.
And so for me, it's almost like a principle, you know, we can't create money that isn't there. And we need to be honest with you, because I will say, and I don't know if this goes to your next question, but sometimes I think we have not wanted to tell a streamer bad news of something they may not want to hear. And so it might be easier for me to simply say to you, oh, I know that's hard. And I'm thinking about, we need to think about ways to solve that problem, right? And sort of make you believe that at some point we can solve the problem, because I don't want to tell you the reality of the path you're chosen. And I think one thing that I've been doing and we've been doing is we need to be transparent when we're not going to have an answer for you. We shouldn't act like maybe just because we care about you, because we're telling you what you want to hear. We need to tell you what the reality is, so then you can plan in your life.
Yeah, I get it.